My date showed up with a contract stating I had to follow his rules if we were going to be together. When I laughed and walked away, he scoffed, "You'll never find a man like me again." Later that night, I posted the contract online, and he woke up to thousands of people roasting him. His face went pale when he saw my final comment. Exactly. And thank God for that. So I 37 female had been single for a while. Not bitter, not desperate, just realistic. Divorce 5 years ago, one long relationship after that, a few casual dates here and there. My friends kept pushing me to get out there, so I gave in and joined one of those dating apps. The ones where half the guys are holding up dead fish and the other half think saying, "Hey sexy," is flirting. After weeks of mostly bad matches, I matched with this guy named Alex, 42 male. At first glance, he seemed okay. Had a stable job, he claimed to work in finance, didn't use baby filters on his selfies, and actually wrote full sentences in his profile. He messaged first, made a decent joke, didn't send any creepy stuff. We chatted for a bit, nothing too deep, but enough to get a feel. He seemed confident, polite, normal. We set up a dinner date for the following Friday. We met at this place called Amore, a nice Italian spot in downtown Nashville. Not too fancy, but not a dive either. He was already there when I walked in. Dressed business casual, firm handshake, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He complimented my dress. Asked how my day was. Standard stuff. Dinner started off fine. Nothing amazing, but not awkward either. Until the breadsticks were on the table and he reached into his coat pocket, pulled out this big manila envelope, and placed it next to my plate. "So we can avoid any miscommunication." I said, "Okay." He pushed it toward me. "You don't have to read it now, but I think it's important. It outlines some expectations I have if this is going to go anywhere." Of course I opened it. I didn't say anything for a full minute. I just read. And read. And read. For typed pages. 4. Rules. Like, actual rules. Written like a legal document. Some highlights. I must reply to texts within 10 minutes, unless in a professional setting. I must share my phone location at all times for safety and transparency. I cannot make significant physical changes like haircuts or tattoos without discussing it with him first. I must dress tastefully and appropriately when going out, especially when not with him. I cannot go out with male friends. Ever. If we argue, I must take time to cool off before speaking again to avoid irrational female emotion. I must not bring up past relationships. Sex must be available on a regular basis to maintain connection. I'm not making this up. That's only a sample. There were also parts about verbal respect and controlling facial expressions during disagreements. I looked up. "You wrote this?" He nodded like he was proud. I find it saves time and builds trust. I stared at him for a solid 5 seconds, trying to figure out if he was joking. He wasn't. I started laughing. Like, really laughing. I couldn't help it. I said, "Are you serious right now?" He looked offended. "I don't think it's funny. If you take relationships seriously, this shouldn't surprise you." I stood up and said, "This is insane." He leaned back in his chair and I swear to God, he said, "You'll never find a man like me again." I grabbed my purse, still laughing, and said, "Exactly. And thank God for that." Left him with the bill. Walked out. Got in my car, still shaking my head. Told one of my friends what happened on the phone. She screamed laughing and said, "You have to post that." So I did. I made a throwaway account. I scanned the contract, cropped out personal info, and posted it on Reddit under the dating subreddit with the full story. Titled it something like, "My date handed me a relationship contract with rules." Yes, I have receipts. I expected a few laughs. What I got was a full internet roast session. Thousands of upvotes. Comments rolling in nonstop. People quoting lines from the contract and adding their own sarcastic rules like, "Must sacrifice 1 goat per month to honor thy king." Others just calling it what it was: controlling, abusive behavior dressed up as structure. Someone made memes. Multiple people asked if he was serious or if it was satire. Others asked for updates. The next morning, my post was all over. I hadn't even checked my phone yet when a coworker came up to me and said, "Hey, is this you?" She showed me the Reddit thread someone had sent her. I laughed, said yeah, and told her the whole thing. By lunchtime, 3 other people in my office knew about it. By dinner, Alex did. He called me. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. His voice was angry, then panicked. "You humiliated me," he said. "This was supposed to be private. Take it down. You've ruined my reputation." I didn't respond. Instead, I added a comment on the original post. Update, he saw it. He's not happy. That one got more likes than the post itself. I didn't say his full name. I didn't share personal photos. I blurred out identifying info. But people who knew him figured it out. Turns out he had a pattern. I got DMs from 2 different women who'd dated him before. They saw the post and said he had given them contracts too, slightly different rules, but same format. One said she was too scared to post about it. The other one said she tried to tell people, but no one believed her. Now, people believed her. I'll stop here for now. A lot more happened, but this post is already long. A few days after the post blew up, I started getting weird messages. At first, it was just the usual stuff from people online. More jokes, support, some creeps too, obviously. But then someone sent me a message that said, "He's looking for you." It came from an anonymous account. No profile picture. No history. Just that message. I brushed it off. Then, 2 days later, I got an email. It wasn't a normal email, it was one of those cease and desist letters. Said I was slandering Alex's character and causing him emotional harm. That if I didn't remove the post, he'd consider further legal action. It was written in Comic Sans. I'm not kidding. I read it 3 times and laughed so hard I spilled coffee on my shirt. But still, legal or not, he clearly wasn't done. I didn't respond. I posted the letter to the Reddit thread instead. The people there tore it apart. Lawyers in the comments pointed out all the fake language and wrong formatting. One guy even wrote a parody version of it. Someone else made a song out of it. It went viral. A group chat. He was in it, along with 5 or 6 other men. They were sharing advice on how to enforce relationship standards. I'm serious. That was the title. She found it because her ex was in the group too. She sent me screenshots. And there it was, Alex sharing his contract and saying he had tested it on multiple women. He called it a filter to weed out the emotional ones. He posted about me, called me unstable and vindictive, said I was out to destroy him. One of the guys replied, "Bro, you need to shut that down before she ruins your life." That's when it clicked. He wasn't just trying to scare me. He wanted to control the narrative. He thought if he painted me as a crazy ex, people would stop listening. So I went back to the post. I added every screenshot Gina sent me. I shared the part where he said, "Women are easier to manage when they think you're being fair." I didn't hold back anymore. This time, it didn't just go viral. It blew up. Someone from a local news station reached out, asked if I'd do a story. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. I was still thinking. Then another DM. This one hit harder. It was from a girl named Marissa. Younger. Early 20s. She had dated Alex for a few months. She said the contract messed her up. Said she actually signed it. Thought it was normal. Thought she was the problem when she couldn't follow all the rules. Said she ended up in therapy. Said she blamed herself. I cried after reading that one. This wasn't just about me anymore. This guy had hurt people. Real people. Not just with bad dates or awkward dinners. He had messed with their minds. Made them feel small. Broken. I told her she wasn't alone. And that's when I decided I was going to do something more than post. But before I could figure out what that was, something else happened. He showed up at my office. Full suit. Holding a folder. Walked right up to the front desk and asked for me by name. The receptionist called me. I was in a meeting. I didn't go out there. Security walked him out. He left the folder behind. It had printed screenshots of my Reddit post, my comments, and pictures from my Instagram. Some were years old. Me with friends. Me on vacation. Me at work. He had printed them and highlighted my face. The note on the last page just said, "This isn't over." I don't scare easy. But that shook me. I called the cops. Filed a report. They took it seriously, but said there wasn't much they could do unless he made a real threat. Apparently, "this isn't over" doesn't count. I bought pepper spray. Changed my number. Locked everything down online. But I wasn't backing off. Because if he thought he could scare me into silence, he picked the wrong woman. Things were quiet for a few days after the office incident. I was hyper-aware of everything. I parked closer to the door, double-checked the locks at home, even changed my route to work. I hated it. I hated that he still had that kind of presence in my life, even without saying a word. Then one night, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened, it was a woman. She sounded nervous. "Hi. I don't know if this is the right number. I found it through someone who knew you from Reddit. My name is Heather. I need to talk to you about Alex. I think he might be dangerous." That last part hit me. I called her back right away. She answered on the first ring. She sounded shaken. Said she had dated Alex years ago in Chicago. Said he moved around a lot for work, always something vague about consulting. But she'd lived with him for 7 months. And she'd also signed the contract. Except her version wasn't 4 pages. It was 10. And it had consequences. Real ones. Penalties for breaking the rules. She said he fined her for staying out too late. Made her pay relationship debts. Tracked her bank account. Told her he was helping her become her best self. She said she finally left after he locked her out of their apartment for talking back during a disagreement. In the middle of winter. With no coat. She'd gone to the police, but nothing stuck. No bruises. No clear threats. Just a pile of manipulation that left her exhausted and doubting her own memory. She saw my Reddit post because someone sent it to her. And now she wanted to help. I asked her to send me everything. She did. Emails, texts, voice memos. One recording stood out. It was him, calmly explaining how women are chaotic by nature and need order. I shared it. With her permission. The Reddit post caught fire again. People were horrified. Some still tried to downplay it, called it kinky or roleplay. But most saw it for what it was. Abuse wrapped in legal language. A system designed to look polite while crushing someone piece by piece. And that's when the real twist happened. A woman messaged me on Instagram. Said she was a paralegal. Worked for a law firm in Seattle. She had read the story and recognized Alex, not from dating, but because her firm had once represented him. She couldn't share details. But she said, "Just know you're not the first person he's tried to silence. Be careful." Another message came 2 days later, this one from a guy named Ryan. He said he was Alex's cousin. I thought it was fake, but then he sent me a photo of them as kids. He said they hadn't talked in years, but he saw the post because his own sister had dated Alex too, and she'd gone through hell. Then came the biggest one. An email from someone with an @fbi.gov address. I froze when I saw it. Thought it was a scam. But I clicked it. It was real. It was a formal request asking to speak about Alex. They said they were following up on multiple civilian reports. They didn't say much, but they asked for copies of the contract and any other communications I had. I gave them everything. A week went by. Nothing. Then 2 FBI agents showed up at my job. This time, they asked to see me. They were polite, respectful, but serious. They asked questions. How I met Alex. What he gave me. What I posted. Who contacted me. I told them everything. One of them finally said it. There's an active investigation involving your ex-date. He didn't give details. But the tone shifted. This wasn't just some weirdo with control issues anymore. This was something bigger. And then my boss called me into his office. Apparently, someone sent an anonymous complaint to corporate. Said I was bringing drama to the company. Said my publicity stunt was causing workplace discomfort. My boss didn't seem like he believed it, but he still had to document it. HR got involved. I had to sit through a meeting where someone asked if I planned to continue using work time to post about personal relationships online. I wanted to scream. I kept it together. Explained the situation. They said they'd monitor it. Code 4, we're watching you. A few days later, Heather called me again. She sounded scared. She said someone had come to her apartment. Left a white envelope taped to her door. No return address. Inside was a photo of her walking her dog and a copy of the contract with red pen all over it. On the back, "You're making this worse." She filed a report too. Police were now fully involved. But we both knew the truth. This guy was smart. Careful. Calculated. He didn't leave easy trails. That's when I knew I couldn't do this alone anymore. So I started planning something. Not for revenge. Not for clout. But to make sure this story didn't get buried. And to make sure he couldn't do this again. Not to me. Not to anyone. After Heather got that envelope, something in me snapped. I was tired. Tired of being scared. Tired of watching this man try to slip through cracks, try to twist the story like he always had. So I went all in. I hired a lawyer. Not because I wanted to sue, because I wanted protection. I wanted to know what my rights were. And I wanted help building a case if it came to that. While my lawyer helped me organize everything, texts, voicemails, emails, witness statements, I started putting together a timeline. Heather helped. Marissa helped. Gina helped. Ryan, the cousin, sent us even more. We realized he'd lived in 6 different cities over the last 10 years. He used the same rules everywhere. Different women. Same methods. Every single time, he moved right after things fell apart. It was a pattern. A sick one. Then I posted again. Not on Reddit this time. On TikTok. I made a video. I blurred faces. I didn't name names. I didn't even use my voice. Just showed parts of the contract, with screenshots from others confirming the same man sent it to them. I used text overlay to tell the story in short bursts. Let the receipts speak for themselves. The video hit 1 million views in 24 hours. That's when everything exploded. News stations picked it up. BuzzFeed wrote about it. Podcasts asked to interview me. The story had a name now, The Contract Guy. And people weren't laughing anymore. They were furious. And so was Alex. He emailed me. The tone was different now. He wasn't smug. He wasn't threatening. He was desperate. Said I had ruined everything. Said he'd lose everything. Begged me to stop. I didn't answer. 2 days later, someone leaked his full name in a comment thread. Not me. But it happened. And the internet did what it does. People found his LinkedIn. His past jobs. The companies he worked for. The schools he claimed to attend. Turns out, some of it was fake. One of the firms he used to work at issued a statement saying they had no affiliation with him anymore and condemned the behaviors described in the viral posts. It got worse for him. Old coworkers started talking. Said he had been strange, overly controlling, and one woman said he tried to get her fired for rejecting him. HR at that company apparently reopened a complaint that had been buried. Then, the final piece dropped. A woman I didn't know messaged me. Said her sister, young, barely 19, had met Alex at a coffee shop. He'd given her his card, invited her to talk about goals. The sister Googled him. Found my post. The mom called the police. That's when the investigation turned real. The FBI reached out again. They were opening a case, officially this time. They asked for full cooperation. I said yes. I won't lie, I made mistakes too. I ignored early red flags. I laughed when I should have gotten up and walked away sooner. I posted the contract without fully thinking through the fallout. Maybe that was reckless. Maybe it wasn't the mature way. But if I hadn't, no one would have known. He would have moved on to the next woman. And the next. I lost my job. Let me be honest about that. HR said it wasn't about the posts, but it was. Too much noise. Too much attention. They didn't want the drama. So they laid me off with some half-assed reason about team restructuring. At first, I was pissed. Then I realized I was free. No more hiding. So I agreed to a full news interview. On camera. I used my real name. I told the whole story. Every message. Every rule. Every scare. That night, I got a message from Alex. Just 3 words. You destroyed me. And I sat there for a minute, staring at it. Then I replied, you did that yourself. I blocked him. For good this time. Last I heard, he was being questioned in connection to past complaints across state lines. The investigation was growing. Several women were now pressing charges. The group chat he was in? They traced that too. One of the guys in it had an open case for harassment. As for me, I'm starting over. It's not all tied up in a bow. It's not perfect. But I sleep better now. I don't look over my shoulder. I don't second-guess my voice. And I've learned something important. When someone tries to write your story for you, you take the pen back. And you burn the damn contract.